So I've bought this hoster. I've paid £10 for this, which might feel like a lot of money for one plant, but I'm going to turn this £10 into the equivalent of about £100 with a little bit of gardening magic. So the very first thing I need to do is take this out of the pot. I need to do that by supporting the plant so that when we turn it upside down it doesn't just drop onto this work surface and break. So hands over the soil around the plant as best I can, and then tip it upside down, and if it won't come out, tap the pot on the edge of a work surface. As it is, this has come out nice and easily. You can see some of the little white roots, but it seems to me that it's been potted on fairly recently because they haven't worked their way down all the way down through the soil. So I'm just going to move some of the soil away very gently. Just move this compost away so that I can see what I've got in terms of individual stems. So what I'm going to do is actually pull this plant apart so that each section becomes a new plant. But I need to be really careful that I don't just rip at the top, because if I rip at the stems there's a chance that they will snap off the roots. So I need to either get a knife to cut it or use a little spade or a trowel, and you're going to cut or pull apart these separate plants. Now, luckily enough I have a knife that is designated for the garden, and I'm just going to put the knife in between the two plant sections, so in this gap here, not all the way through, just in those two bits to start with, and cut downwards. So I've gone part of the way in there, and then I'm going to look at the plant on the side, and I can see I can probably cut down there. There we go. So that has come away quite nicely, and you can see there's a large section of the basal root bit here, and then a few of the smaller roots. Now I could divide that again if I'm very careful, but I want to make sure that I've got a bit of root on each section. So there we go. You can see the roots there. Now I've just given this plant a massive shock, so it does need a water before I do anything else with it. So I'm going to set those pieces aside while I carry on working my way round this plant, cutting away more sections very carefully. Now, if you do this, which is basically no roots on it at all is not lost. You can still try planting that. I might dip that in a little rooting powder to encourage it to root, but that may well, might not, but that may well grow again. However, this piece there we go, has quite happily got a nice piece of root on each section. And again, I'm just carrying on cutting through. Now it looks as though what I'm doing is really fierce, and in some ways it is. This isn't what would happen in nature, but we are giving nature a helping hand. Be really careful with your fingers. All the usual health and safety rules apply. And I'm going to pot each of these up as a new plant. So So I've had all the pieces of hosta in this tray of water soaking for about 10 minutes, and this will help them take up some water and recover from the shock of being divided. And I'm going to start off with a fairly small pot, and so I'm going to find a small piece to go in it. There we go. Now I've put a little bit of compost in the bottom, but that will make it stick out far too much. So I want the base where the leaves meet the roots to be about at the top of this. It doesn't need to be exact, but I don't want to plant it too deeply. And next I'll give it a really good water to make sure that the soil is right up and touching those roots and there's no air pockets. And then I'm going to put it in a sheltered and not too bright a place, so not in heavy shade, amongst the lots of other plants where it will have some dappled shade and is sheltered from the westerly winds. At the garden centre they were selling plants around this size for £5 each, and from that one plant I've got 20 pieces like this. So that would be the equivalent of £100 worth of plant for just a tenner.